how to find the perfect house for sale in Colleyville, Texas. That's the question that we're going to get into today, or really more of the mission that we're going to embark on today. We're going to look at Colleyville. Oops. All right, so our audio works. We're going to look at Colleyville in its entirety. We're going to look from the area where it's located, the real estate prices, the property taxes, which are very, very important here in Texas. Along with homeowners insurance, we're going to quote the, if we're going to purchase, which we're actually going to go through a simulation like we're purchasing a property, we're going to break it down into 3 financing options so you can decide what might be a better option for you. So we're going to get into all of that today. So if as you're finding value in a particular section, let me know in the comment section down below what stands out to you. Where's an opportunity for just some additional information where we can expand upon. Happy to share some additional clarity from that respect. But with that being said, let's go right into it. So again, we are looking at Colleyville, Texas. That's the only city that we're considering at the moment. And let's see first where in the heck Colleyville, Texas even is. All right, so Colleyville has presently 109 properties for sale with the average of $1.49 million. So as you can see, the real estate prices in Colleyville are high. They're higher up. They're higher up there. So this is a city that is more of a destination city where a lot of folks are wanting to move into and not necessarily ever want to leave. So this is what I call a destination city. But what we're going to do now is we are going to solely focus on single family residences and then work from there. Again, we're going to look at where it's located, and the 3 things to consider when you're looking at any community, especially here in Colleyville, is what we're going to address right out of the gate. So let's look and see where in the heck Colleyville, Texas even is. As you can see, it's centrally located and it's pretty much landlocked at this point. So you're not going to find a ton of new construction here outside of individual builds from more luxury style builders, given the price point that we're talking about. So as far as new construction, we're not going to find a ton of that in the area. So we're not going to look for it. Now, really, there's 3 C's whenever you're looking to purchase a home that we ask our clients to consider. Number 1 is the commute. What type of commute do you want to have for your work? So oftentimes, whenever you're relocating to an area, you're doing so because of work. So some of you might be work from home type people. Some of you might be work from the office or a warehouse or wherever it happens to be that you work. That is you. So again, you have to really have to answer for yourself, what type of commute do I want to have on a day-to-day basis, because that's going to dictate so much about where you end up going with your home search. So number 1, determine what your commute is going to be. Number 2, determine what your community should look like. So when I say community, I mean your lifestyle. Do you like going outside, doing some recreational things? Are you the type of person that goes to a different restaurant every evening? Do you want a lake lifestyle? What type of entertainment scene do you need to have? That is what I mean by community. So again, that's the 2nd C. What type of community are you looking for? And I can tell you right now, from a Colleyville perspective, it's the type of lifestyle that you can have the great restaurants. You can, as in CAN, you can have recreational activities and a ton of things to do within your immediate radius. Now, even if you don't find it within Colleyville city limits, you can always go here to South Lake, Keller, or Grapevine. You're in a really good entertainment zone where you can find pretty much anything to do within a short distance. So community is something that's super, super important. And number 3 is the cost. What type of budget are you working for? That's going to dictate quite a bit. So as you saw here, the average price point was relatively high. And as you see right here, the lowest price home at the present time when it comes to Colleyville is $479,000. So it's not necessarily winning any lowest home prices award anytime soon. So that's a big consideration. Number 1, commute. Number 2, community. And number 3, the cost. Those are the 3 questions that you need to address for yourself before really getting super intentional with your home search, because it's going to save you so much time, so much energy, and ultimately it's going to be less stressful. So let's check out and see what type of real estate we're talking about when we're looking at the city of Colleyville. Right now we have 66 homes for sale in the city of Colleyville. And let's see what that looks like. The lowest price homes right now are $480,000, $499,000. So you have 3 homes under $500,000. Now, what this typically lends itself to is on the lower price homes, you're usually looking for homes that are going to be fixer-uppers or investor specials, as what they're commonly known as. In this particular community in Colleyville, I can tell you that while those do exist, the fixer-uppers and things of the like, you're generally not going to see them hit the MLS all that often, given that most of the lower price homes that get sold are going to be primary owners that are not going to necessarily be investor specials where they're selling them at a huge discount that need a ton of work. As you can see here, this home appears to be recently renovated. This one we don't necessarily know from this outside picture, but it doesn't look too bad. It looks like this is probably not a rehab, nor is it an investor special where it's going to need a ton of work. And same thing here. So you have homes that you can reasonably purchase at a reasonable price when it comes to Colleyville and actually move into it without doing a ton of work to it. Now you can see some additional inventory in the 500,000s. As you can tell, these are proper homes. These are homes that are over 2,000 square feet. Many of them are going to have that 4-bedroom and are going to be pretty darn good homes. Now, again, we're looking at 560s already, and this is the second page or the second row, which if you watched any of the other videos within this channel, it's very hard to do. So certain cities do get on the pricier side sooner rather than later. So these are your Highland Parks of the world, your South Lakes of the world, your Kellers of the world, Frisco's of the world, Prospers of the world. Those types of cities are the ones that get into the 500, 600, 700s relatively quickly. So we're still not even past 20 homes and you're already in the 700,000s. This is the type of price point that we're looking at in this particular community. Now, just because we want to and because we can, we're going to do a little bit of dreaming. We're going to do a little bit of eye candy real quick and see what luxury looks like in the city of Colleyville. So we're going to hit the last page here before we go into an actual breakdown of one particular home. The most expensive property right now in the city of Colleyville is $13 million. Now this looks like it's more of a land area, so let's see what's actually being sold here for $13 million, which is that entire spot right there. So there is a property here, but a lot of it is being I know exactly where this is. Mostly you're selling for, look at that, how large is that? You see all the homes around here, and they have that huge area. So somebody was sitting on that for quite a while. 16 acres, which is massive in this spot. Wow. Let's see what the other home that is a bit more home than actual land. Let's see what that looks like. What's a new build? It's a custom build that's being built by a builder at the moment, and it's 3 acres. Wow, pretty modern, pretty cool. That almost looks more like a museum than anything. Cool. Well, we get nothing wrong with dreaming. Nothing wrong with check out that home. Wow, nothing wrong with dreaming. We just kind of wanted to see what it was if we what the luxury part of Colleyville was looking like when it came to prices and the type of real estate that we're looking at. What we're going to do now is we're going to shoot somewhere in the middle. We're going to look for properties and we're going to break down a property from the images, from the details, so we can get a better understanding of what a loan would look like if we were to purchase that home. So this one looks as good as any. I mean, this is phenomenal real estate. You know what? I like these types of homes right here with a little gate out front and then the parking in the back. So we'll go ahead and try to purchase this one. We're going to go through a breakdown of this particular home and see what it's going to cost us. We're going to find different ways to finance it, and we're going to look at this property as if we were purchasing it. So typically whenever you purchase a home, you start off with the online portals. Then as the images or the property continues to stand out to you, then you go into more fact finding of what the home is about, and then find a way to finance it, right? So that's essentially what we're going to be doing right now. So at this point in time, again, we're looking at a home that is $1.2 million. It looks like 5 bedrooms, 5 full baths, so 5.5 baths, almost 5,000 square feet on a third of an acre. And the rest of the details, we're going to come back in here and really go through them. But first, let's see what the home actually looks like and see if this is one that we want to purchase. So right out of the gate, I see that there's a good amount of landscaping. It's very well kept. That's really one of those things that when you're looking at a property, you want to look at the minor things or the small things because they tell you so much about the larger things. So if you find that, as an example, if the landscaping isn't kept or the yard isn't being kept, whether by themselves or they're paying somebody to do it, it kind of gives you an idea of the type of maintenance that was or was not there with the larger ticket items, whether that's the HVAC units, whether that's watering the foundation, whether that's roof maintenance, or essentially checking for leaks, things of that nature, right? So again, the small things that can lead its way into the larger things. Now, the reason that you're going to hear me call out and be very specific with certain things, it's not because I'm trying to be a jerk. It's not because I'm trying to be an armchair quarterback. But the second thing to really recognize about these comments that I'm going to share is because when you're searching and looking at property, your first showing is going to take about 30 to 45 minutes, and many of us then get a strong inkling if you're going to be making an offer at that point. So whenever you go and look into a property, you're going to spend 30 to 45 minutes there, and then you're going to be most likely making a decision if you are going to submit an offer. Now, if some of us do come back, or some of you do come back for a second showing just to make sure that this is going to be the property, but you're going to find that often within those 30 to 45 minutes, you've already have your mindset on if this is a property that you're going to purchase. So what I'm alluding to is you don't spend a ton of time looking at the property and really trying to catch everything from the outset, because you spend 30 to 45 minutes. So in 30 to 45 minutes, you're making a decision that in this case is $1.2 million worth of a decision. So that's where we talk a lot about mindset. We talk a lot about the mood that when we go and show homes. So that's where there's certain small things that we do here as agents within our group that will help our buyers have a better experience. So again, the reason I'm calling out a few things that you're going to hear me be a little bit critical on is because the small things can lead into bigger things, and then also because you don't spend a ton of time looking at the home. So it's our responsibility to support you and be a better service for you. All right, so again, the landscaping looks like there is a good amount of landscaping here, but it looks like it's been very well maintained. From the outside, it looks like the stone, the brick, and everything else is pretty nice touch. It looks like it has been updated. Maybe this has faded away in terms of the black gate here, but it's a little bit far to see. All right, so the entrance here, we see a lot of wood here. I do like the office, so I'm already going to be a fan of it. I can already tell. And then you have the hardwood scraped floors, the hardwood floors that are hand scraped. So you have a neutral color, so a little bit of a tan color throughout. I do like this big door here. All right, so you're walking right in, and on the right hand side, you're going to see your office, and you can go upstairs to get into the second story. So we know that this is a 2-story home, which we could have guessed from the looks of it from the outside. And also, it's hard to keep almost 5,000 square feet. 4,800 square feet in one single floor. It's just very, very challenging, especially in Colleyville. All right, so the built-in shelves here. I don't know, is this kind of like an office within the office over here? This is pretty cool. So you have the office going in, and then just like a little spot here. Maybe somebody that, an executive assistant that works out here. There's, or whoever's working out of this office. You could tell that both are being used. That's pretty cool. All right, yeah. There's a little spot here for some additional, like an additional workstation. All right, so you have some faux finish here in the dining room. So this is the entrance of the room of the house. On the right hand side, we saw the office, and then here we have the dining off to the left. I do see some plantation shutters here, which I am a sucker for. Those are just Those look really cool. My first house had plantation shutters, and that's something that once you have them, you can never go back, really. It's just, they're that cool. All right, so you have the living room, and I'm going to guess the living room is going to be right through that little hallway, right? Yeah, right through this little hallway, you get into the living room. Now the living room, this looks like a decent sized height, but this is going to feel a little bit smaller than it actually is because the ceilings are not as high, which would lead it to look a little bit larger. So just kind of a heads up there. This is a large room from what I can see, but it's going to feel a little bit smaller, a little bit less space because of that roof or the ceiling being a little bit I'm not gonna say on the shorter side, but it's not an elevated ceiling is a better way of saying it. Great layout. All right, so we have the hardwood floors here meet the tile, and then you have your open kitchen here. You have your island, gas range, stainless steel appliances, tiled backsplash, granite countertops. And that does look like an updated faucet there, so we're going to be in a good spot. And then you have your wood cabinets. It looks like you have a good amount of space, so you have a good amount of cabinets here. So a lot of storage. Then you have your pantry here. All right, what is this? Okay, so we are over here on the breakfast nook, which is what's pretty cool about this particular spot is that you have an additional spot over here of some shelves and some counter space, and same thing over here. It looks like maybe your coffee spot, a little coffee bar, and you have your plantation shutters once again. Great looking layout so far. Now you're looking at one of your bathrooms. I believe this is probably a half bathroom. There was 5 bedrooms and 5.5 baths, if I remember correctly, on this property. This is your primary bedroom, which has the vaulted ceilings here. Good size. Good size. This looks to be like a king size, so it makes the king size look small. There's plenty of space here. This is a massive room, and you have your bath and shower here, and you have your... There's one sink. I'm going to guess your other sink is going to be over here. And there it is. Good looking room. Good looking bathroom. Now this is a nice touch. You still see the plantation shutters. This is your second room, and the ceiling is also elevated here, so it's a little bit larger than your normal room. And then these the doors to your closet are pretty unique in the fact that they are not your normal ones. They're not custom, but they are upgraded. They are upgraded doors to your closet. Now what is this? This almost looks like a flex room, if you will. Now they're using it as a workout room, which very nice touch. Is this a door to the outside? Yeah, this is a door to the outside. Okay, so yeah, they have a exercise center here in your very own home. Your other bathroom, full bathroom. Your laundry room, very nice size. You have a little sink right here, which I'm always a fan of. Looks like somebody got on a little chair and shot took a picture from the high side of the room. And this is the entertainment area, so this is going to be more of... Okay, so upstairs your landing area, and then you have a room down here that appears to be from a musician, but we'll get to it here shortly. And I believe this is bedroom 4. I've lost count at this point, but we're going to keep going. And then your other bathroom. There's a ton of bathrooms. This one has not been updated from the original time that it was built, so just calling that out. The other bathrooms did seem to have some updates on them, but this one does not. Now it's still beautiful. It still has some room to run. It's not necessarily that you need the upgrades, but I am calling that out. because it's an observation that was made. Now here's another bedroom that does have its own bathroom attached to it, and it's a full size. Oh, this is interesting. It's almost like a, okay, no, it is. Okay, what is this? All right, so you're almost stepping down. Yeah, there's a step down into the bathroom. That's interesting. So it's a different elevation. And then you have your covered patio with your TV out front. Very nice touch with the furniture outside into you, and you have plenty of access to your pool here. Good looking pool. And then you have your dusk shot here. Good looking picture. And the backyard. So I believe this is a third of an acre if I remember correctly. So it's a beautiful home. Let's buy it. Now that we've spent some time checking out the property that we're going to purchase. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. We already did the fun part here of watching the pictures or checking out the pictures. Let's find out some additional information to see if this is the one for us. But also there's going to be some additional information that we're going to use for calculating the price and mortgage that we're going to be using. Live your best life in the beautiful tree-lined neighborhood of Whittier Heights in Colleyville. The stunning custom home is located on a quiet street with McPherson Park at the end, so you're close to a park. It's close to shopping and has convenient access to highways and DFW Airport. Because you live in Colleyville, yes, that is 100% true. The DFW access to the airport is so close. Enter through a beautiful 2-story entryway, awesome, that leads to a stunning formal dining room and a private study with exquisite woodwork and coffered ceiling. That's I always forget that word, coffered. I gotta remember that, coffered. Butler's pantry connects the dining room to an extensive gourmet kitchen that opens to a large family room with windows overlooking a beautiful backyard and pool. The massive primary bedroom, 100% it is massive, includes an ensuite with a large dual closet and custom built-ins. A second bedroom downstairs. This is highly coveted when it comes to when you have a 2-story home, you would love a second bedroom downstairs. Oftentimes when relatives visit, especially moms and dads, grandparents, you are looking for that second bedroom downstairs. I'll tell you that whenever I purchased my first home, I had a 4,500 square foot home in Castle Hills. That's something that I was looking for specifically for my parents when they visited. So I had 1 bedroom downstairs, and I had 4 bedrooms upstairs. Unfortunately, there was not a secondary bedroom downstairs, so that was a downside for my particular needs, and that's why them calling out the second bedroom downstairs is so important for myself personally, but also a lot of the clients that I work with. That's something that we specifically look for. Upstairs, there's a large game room with built-ins, a media room, and 3 bedrooms, all with their own bath. It's very important. The back patio, yard area, pool, and hot tub are perfect for large gatherings. The architectural features and millwork throughout are a must-see. Beautiful home, no question about it. All right, so Tarrant County, that's going to come into play whenever we talk about property taxes. So we're going to come back to that here shortly. Let's talk about property taxes just right out of the gate. This, for some of us, we may be shocked at how much we're paying in property taxes. For some others, we're thinking, welcome to Texas. So I'll show you how to calculate the property taxes that we're going to be paying on this property here shortly. This is what the present owners are paying. Now that's factoring in the assessed value that they have on this property already. And it's also factoring in the exemptions that the present homeowners have. So a long way of saying this is not going to be the property taxes that you're most likely going to be paying. It's probably going to be different. Actually, it will be different. Just prepping you for that. All right, 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, and a half bath here. So when we're talking about half baths, it essentially means no shower, no tub. It's just the essential toilet and sink. 4,787 square feet, so almost 5,000 square feet, or 4,800 if we want to get a little bit closer to the estimate, and a third of an acre. So a third of an acre is a very, very, very good size, generous size lot. Association fee $315, and that looks a little bit high for me. I'm wondering if it's paid biannually or including quarterly. But these association fees are a little bit low specifically for Colleyville. So we're going to need to investigate that a little bit further. This is a 3-car garage and it's in Keller ISD. It's going to be important for us once we start doing the property tax calculation. Okay, so yes, there's a pool built 2003. So we're looking at a home that's been 21 years of existence. That lets us know that the HVAC unit, something that we would need to really look at whenever we're purchasing it, because if it's reaching its end of its life, and if they have replaced it already, awesome, that's great, because a home of this size is going to require at least 2 units. It's going to be 2 units to keep it cool and keep it hot throughout the seasons. So again, 21 years of age right now, we're going to need to look at that pretty intentionally, the HVAC units, to see what kind of condition they're in. Also, water heaters at this point, most likely they're already working on the second water heater through the life of this home. And I'm looking for anything else that we would call out that might not be traditional. Or here we go, association fee frequency. It did look a little light for my taste. For my experience, I would love for HOAs to be free, or well, I'll leave it at that. Quarterly. So this is going to be assessed 4 times a year. So this whatever quarterly is, 1260. So $1,260 in HOAs every year. So just be mindful of that. It's a recurring expense. Regardless if you have a mortgage or not, you're going to be paying that amount in HOA fees alone, plus the property taxes. Regardless if you have if you have mortgage or not, you're going to be paying that. So we're going to come back to, when we do our calculation, we're going to include that into our analysis. All right, so Colleyville, Keller, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we have enough information to get into our calculation zone. So as always, we're going to use our trusty loan clarity advisor to give us different scenarios on how to purchase this property. We're going to use 3 different scenarios so you can see them side by side. Now, this is linked down below. Make sure you check that out. If you do not see it, if you do not see this loan clarity advisor link down below, then just go to winthehouseyoulove.com, go to tools, and go to the loan clarity advisor, or a loan comparison tool, which is what this is. This is created by Kyle Seagrace with Win the House You Love. That's a YouTube channel here on YouTube. Make sure you go and check that out. Now, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about it, make sure you reach out to us. We're happy to assist you through any of this. But again, this is linked down below. This is the exact same tool that we use with our clients as we do the breakdowns for them. All right, so you have the option when it comes to taxes and insurance to present, to create this scenario, if you want to use estimates or if you want to use exact amounts. If you use estimates, make sure that you go to Texas and then toggle this left and right as I give you the numbers that we're going to be using. You feel free to use this. Now, for us to give you a more exact way, we're going to go with these exact amounts. It's going to allow us to show you all the considerations when it comes to property taxes, homeowners insurance, and an HOA. So we're going to use exact amounts. You could do the exact same thing on your end as you're going through your Colleyville search. For our purposes today, we're going to use exact amounts to give you as much information as possible in this short amount of time that we have together. The purchase price that we're going to use for this property is $1.2 million. We're going to offer them exactly as what they asked for. And knowing that this property has just had a price reduction, I believe, of $50K, if I saw that correctly when I clicked over here. Yeah, they just had a price cut here a couple of days ago. So you're saving money. I'm a fan of that. All right, so let's see. Monthly property taxes. Here's where we get into some calculations. So let's talk about property taxes for a quick second. Then I'm going to screen share where we're going to go to get this information for your specific situation. Number 1, when you purchase the property, you're paying property taxes. Some of us don't realize that. I didn't realize that when I bought my first house. So number 1, we're paying property taxes. The second thing to consider is property taxes in Texas are relatively high. Texas has the sixth highest property tax rate in the country, with New Jersey being number one. So property taxes are a real deal, big thing here, so we need to be mindful of that. Number 3, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, there's up to 5 numbers that we need to find when we're aggregating the information when it comes to property taxes. So there's up to 5 rates that we're going to look for. Number 1 is the city tax rate. Number 2 is the county tax rate. Number 3 is the ISD tax rate. These 3 are going to be across every single city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. You have to find these to get an accurate property tax rate. City, county, ISD. Just remember those 3 and you're going to be fine. Now, the other 2, so I mentioned there's going to be up to 5. The other two do present themselves oftentimes. Not always, but oftentimes they do come up. And that is the higher education tax, which is, think of like community colleges, and the hospital network tax. So think of, if you're on the Fort Worth side of things, like JPS, John Peter Smith Health Network, or if you're on Dallas, think of like Parkland. So these are the 2 additional taxes that oftentimes come up. So again, city, county, ISD, and then potentially the higher education and the hospital network. I preface that because we're going to go and try to find that information right now, and cities are very notorious for not doing a really good job of showing us what the heck the property taxes are. So we're going to go to Colleyville, Texas property tax rate. All right, so here's what's up. What is the city's property tax rate? The city's current tax rate is boing, boing, boing. So if we were to just said, hey, we got to go, we're paying property taxes. Let's go find that rate. And we Google that up. And if you're anything like me, we would have taken the summary that Google gives us, and very soon the AI version of Google is going to give us. We'd say, oh, it's 0.26. So it's 0.26%. Not bad. It's super cheap. Awesome. I can't believe I didn't move to Texas sooner. No. No. This is just one, right? So we talked about city, county, ISD. This is just one, folks. If we were to just take this and run with it, we would be very, very, very mistaken. And we don't want to be mistaken on a $1.2 million property, because the average tax rates in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex vary from 1.8% to about 3%. That's the ballpark. So if you just took, so again, 1.8% to 3%. If you just took a 0.26, you're wildly undershooting it. You're undershooting it by what? 9 times. So don't do that. Don't do that. Let's investigate a little bit further, see if Colleyville is going to be nice to us and give us the entire picture. And they are. God bless you, Colleyville. All right, so they broke it down by ISD. So remember, the ISD is the third thing that we look for. And just as a heads up, the ISD is going to be the highest number on the 5 numbers that we're going to see. So for our purposes today, we're going to take this home into consideration. Remember, we were looking at Tarrant County, and we were also looking at Keller ISD right here. This is where the home is. So what we're going to do is going to go over here, and we're going to look for Keller. So this is going to be our column. So it has the city tax rate, which is going to be the same. Our school district tax rate, which, take note, is different. It's 1.8%. If we were in Birdville ISD, this would be higher. If we were in Grapevine Colleyville ISD, this would be lower. If we were on HEB ISD, it would be lower as well. So we're paying not the highest, but not the lowest with ISD tax rate. Tarrant County, and then the hospital, the network that we were talking about, and then the higher education tax. So all that together, it's 2.1171% in property taxes. Now, if your property was in the HEB or Grapevine Colleyville ISD, then you're paying less than 2%. So remember, the average is 1.8 to about 3%. The range, not the average. The range is 1.8 to about 3% in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So here, you're actually on the lower end of the range, believe it or not. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of math real quick. This is where the manual part comes into play. Now, if we had done the estimates, we could have just moved that little widget here, and it would have given us an answer or an approximation, but I want to give as much preciseness to this as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply $1.2 million. So we're going to do $1,200,000. So just write that out. And we're going to multiply that times the tax rate, which is going to be 0.021171. So in property taxes, we have up to $25,000. Now here's the thing. Here's where I have to be pretty specific. Note that here, these folks are paying $17,294. You may think, well, that's a huge difference. And you're right. That is a huge difference. Now, let's talk about this for a quick second. When you're talking about property of this value, this value, well, let's talk about two things. Well, three things. Yeah, final answer, three things. When you're talking about property of this value, there are certain limits on how much you're going to be taxed. So that's one thing to understand. The second thing to understand is that the assessed value of your home is most likely different than the market value. The market value for us, it means if you were to go to market, what would people pay you for it? Well, we're assuming that people are going to pay $1.2 million. That is not what you're paying property taxes against. You're paying taxes against the assessed value, which is going to be a portion, a subset of this $1.2 million. Now, don't think it's going to be a small portion, but it's going to be a large portion of the 1.2. So here, the assessed value is going to be less oftentimes. And the third thing to understand is that the homeowners probably have some exemptions that they've applied to this home, especially in Colleyville, because it is a more expensive city. So here it's very common across every city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex really to have the homestead exemption, but it's also very common to have a 65 plus exemption and also a military exemption, but really more the 65 plus, or disability exemption. So there's some additional exemptions. Why? Well, because typically the average age here in Colleyville is on the higher end because it's a more expensive city. It's the home price is they're not going to necessarily be available to the real estate's not going to be easily accessible to people that are just getting out of college or getting into their 30s, starting a family. Colleyville's going to be more of an area. Again, it's a destination city for in my opinion, where people work towards eventually to move into. And typically there you're looking at having a few more years under your belt when it comes to the career to where you can afford to live there. That's a long, I know I'm saying a lot, but I'm trying to compact as much as I can into where these numbers are coming from and where they're going. So for our purposes today, although we're using the and let me rephrase that. The reason that we're using the market value is because I want to give you a conservative number that when you go out and purchase this property, you're actually going to be paying less, maybe not substantially less, but you're going to be paying less than the $25,000 a year in property taxes. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So I'm going to divide that by 12, and our monthly property taxes is going to be $2,117. And we'll leave it at that. That's what our property taxes are going to be. Again, this is a conservative number. You're going to, in the future years, maybe 5 years, 8 years from today, you might be paying that actually in property taxes as the property value continues to rise. But for now, this is a very conservative rate. You're not going to be paying this much in monthly property taxes, but you're not going to be too far off, just as a heads up. Homeowners insurance, let's talk about this. For homeowners insurance, we just apply a number to it, or we apply a very simple formula to it. We just multiply the value of the home times 0.75. That gives us the estimated yearly premium of the home. So that is 0.75, so it's less than 1%. And multiply that times the purchase price. That'll give us the yearly homeowners insurance. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to $1,200,000. We're going to multiply that times 0.0075 because it's 0.75. It's less than 1%. So we're doing 0.0075. And that gives us a yearly premium of $9,000 for homeowners insurance. So we're going to divide that by 12 to give us a $750 monthly homeowners insurance premium. Now, this is an estimate. You might get quoted more, you might get quoted less, depending on where it's located, how many claims it's had against you, against the property and yourself. along of other things, but this is a reasonable estimate of what your monthly what your monthly homeowner's insurance is going to be. Monthly HOA. Let's talk about the monthly HOA. We already know that this is a quarterly charge of $315. So let's just make sure that my math was correct. 315 times 4. That's $1,260. Now we're dividing that by 12. That'll be $101 in HOA. Now, although this is although we're calculating it now, know that you're not paying your HOA monthly. You're paying it quarterly, and you're going to be paying that in an invoice. You're not going to be paying that in your mortgage payment. We like to put this here just so you have everything in one place, and you're going to be able to make decisions based off of all of the financing and the additional costs associated to the property itself. Let's continue. All right, so we're going to add the 3 financing options that we're going to use as an illustration today to buy this property. So we're going to go conventional 5%, we're going to go FHA 5%, and we're going to go back to conventional, but this time we're going to hit them up with a 20% down payment. Now, whenever you purchase a home, you can either buy the house straight cash. If that's you, awesome. But oftentimes you're going to buy the house, but with a mortgage. So through a loan, which becomes a mortgage. So that's what a loan for a house is called, a mortgage. Now, whenever you take out a mortgage, you're going to have several different loan options. The most common ones in the market are conventional loans and FHA loans. With a conventional loan, the minimum down payment that you can put down is 3%. With an FHA loan, the minimum down payment that you can put is 3.5%. So those are minimums. Now, because we're going to be putting in option 1 and option 2 less than 20% down, we're paying what's called mortgage insurance on these loans. Now, what is mortgage insurance? Mortgage insurance is an insurance that the lender puts out on you as a borrower in the event that you default. So essentially, they're trying to protect their butts. They're trying to limit their losses in the event that you default. So in the event that you default, not only are they taking the property back, but they now have this insurance on you so they can get paid out and made whole and mitigate their losses. Now, here's the kicker. You get to pay for that premium that they're putting out on you. So congratulations. Now, that's a little bit more about why, when that comes into play. If you put less than 20% down, you're paying mortgage insurance. Another distinction before we keep going. On the conventional loan, eventually that mortgage insurance goes away. And that eventually is whenever you become 20% owner of that home. So whenever you own 20% of that property, that mortgage insurance goes away. Now with an FHA loan, that type of loan, the mortgage insurance never goes away. That's going to stay there forever and for always until you either refinance, sell the property, or you pay off the entire loan. All right, so let's continue, and it's going to come back up. I just want to give you a very brief overview of what we were talking about. So we're going to do 5% down on conventional, 5% down on on FHA. The reason we're doing 5% is because this is one of the most common percentages that our clients end up going with, as opposed to the minimums. And also the minimums, it will depend on your credit. It'll depend on your debt to income. It'll depend on a few things if you even qualify for the minimum. So this is a conventional. If you are trying to get 3% down, you're most likely needing to be a first-time home buyer to be able to access that 3% down. All right, so loan length in years. Loan length in years is going to be 30 years. Now, interest payment. So interest is what the bank is going to charge you to loan you that money. And that's what the interest rate is. Now, every single hour, the interest rate changes. The best thing to do right now for your particular situation, whenever you're watching this video, a day from now, a year from now, 20 years from now, is to go over and find out what the interest rate is on a loan. So what we need to do is, what is the interest rate right now for buying a house? We're going to go to bank rate. And we're going to see that as of Friday, the 23rd, which is right now, time of this recording, the 30-year is at 6.38, and the 15-year is at 15. The 15-year is at 5.87. All right, so 6.38, and we're going to put 6.38 You're going to put 6.38. That is our interest rate right now. Now, in reality, your FHA is going to give you a different rate than your conventional, and your conventional 5% is going to be different than your 20%. But for our purposes today, we're going to keep them the same so as to not change too many different things or introduce too many different variables. All right. Points. What are points? Points are essentially you getting the option of buying down the interest rate. So whenever you buy 1 point, you're able to buy down the interest rate. Now, 1 point does not mean 1 full percentage point. So don't think that if I buy 1 point, it's going to drop it down to 5.38%. No. It's going to buy down about a fourth of a point, roughly. So the math that I like to do is just based off of 1/4 of an interest point. So here, if I buy down 1 point, I would be buying down the interest rate to about 6.13% roughly. That's what buying 1 point would be. Now, what would be my cost to buy down that point? Well, it's 1% of the loan amount. So if you borrowed this amount or borrowed $1 million as an example, then you would be looking at, what's that, 10,000? In 1% of that amount would be the points that you're buying. So just to give you an idea of what the points are. Lender fees vary across the board, but typically budget in 1 to 2% in fees. Now, when it comes to larger homes like this, it's going to be more towards the 1%, so you can add that in later. Now, the best thing that I can share with you in terms of what to do with the calculations is get different quotes. Get quotes from the Allied First Banks of the world, the Chases of the world, the Wells Fargos of the world, the local lenders of the world, and compare their quotes in real time. Compare the quotes here, because you're going to have all this information. You can just stack them up side by side and see which one offers you the best rate, the fees, and everything included. Monthly mortgage insurance. So again, since we are not putting 20% down on these two loans right here, the conventional 5% down and FHA 5%, we are paying monthly mortgage insurance, and this is what it's going to be roughly throughout the loan. And you're going to see that broken down here shortly. Now, if you want to put some extra payments on that loan, you can do this monthly or you can do this in lump sum. That's up to you, but you have this ability if you want to put some additional payments in. When it comes to the loan comparison, so the loan cost here, this kind of works together, and this gives you an idea of how much you save or how much more you're paying depending on the loan that you get. So if you're looking at 10 years down the road, you will have looked at paying $570,000 in interest basically through a conventional 20% down. Now, if in those same 10 years, if you would have gotten an FHA loan at 5%, it would have cost you almost $13,000 more right here. So this loan would have cost you almost $250,000 more. Now, if you would have done 5% down, then you're looking at the additional expense of $171,000, a majority of that coming in the form of mortgage insurance. So this gives you the differences of expense when you're talking, or the differences of loan cost when you're talking about different loans. All right. So now what's pretty cool about this is that you can toggle this left and right. So if you want to go to full maturation point, where to see at the end of the loan what that would look like, this gives you an idea of what that would be. After the 30 years, your conventional 20% would be $1.2 million. FHA would have been $1.6 million, and conventional 5 would have been almost $1.5 million. So it gives you the difference of how much the loan would be. Now, here's the elephant in the room. I recognize that 20% down is a heck of a lot of money. I fully recognize that. And I recognize that for us to get to 20% down on a property of this value, you're looking at $250,000. Not everybody has that. So if you're not able to put 20% down and are waiting to get to that PMI level, I would ask that you reconsider, given that you can get into this home for less than 20% down and put less down, because you're looking at $60,000 as opposed to $240,000, and you would be paying this monthly. I granted it would be monthly, but it sure beats having to wait all the years to be able to, or however long it's going to take you to save this amount of money, it beats having to wait to do that in exchange for paying this in monthly mortgage insurance, because that's essentially what you're saving. Just my 2 cents. Again, just wanted to offer that as a comparison. That's why the numbers are broken down the way that they are, so you can see them in plain English. All right, so let's talk about our monthly payment. What's that going to look like for us? And let's start at year 1 just to see what it would be. The mortgage payment on a home of this value in this area, you're looking at about $9,000 if you would have done 20% down conventional, and just shy of $11,000 if you would have gone conventional or FHA with 5% down. You're going to notice that the common theme among all 3 of these loans is that such little goes into the principal at the beginning and how much goes into the interest. That's huge, right? So you see that of the amounts that you're putting in, of the $10,000 that you're putting in, such little goes into the principal. And how much goes into the interest and how much goes into taxes, the homeowner's insurance, the mortgage insurance, and the HOA is not part of this equation. We're included here just so you see it. But this is billed separately. This is essentially an invoice every quarter. I think quarterly was $315 is what I think I remember seeing. So here again, you get to see the differences. So at the beginning of your loans, you're going to find that most of the payment is going to go towards interest than anything else. And then a small portion, at least at the beginning, goes into principal. As you continue making payments, let me show you the amortization table. As you continue making payments, you're going to see that here's the principal and here's the interest. So this payment amount, adding these 2 together, is never going to change. But as you continue making payments, you're going to see this column that goes into principal is going to rise, and then this is going to go down. The inflection point where it actually flips, where you're paying more into principal than interest, is going to be roughly around year 19 and a half. And that happens right around here. This is, you see that this number is less than this number, and then eventually it becomes principal. You pay more in principal than interest. But you're talking about year 20 at that point. So it's a long ways away. It's a long ways away. Just that's the nature of these mortgages, unfortunately. You're paying mostly towards interest regardless of the loan that you get. All right, so that's a little bit more about payment. I'll show you where the break-even point on the mortgage insurance is here on the following graph. Equity, at any point in time, you're able to see how much equity you own into the home. So let me illustrate the difference of, really illustrate the how much goes into the interest at the beginning of the loan. So let's go to year 20. Let's go to year 22. Let's say that. At year 22, you would expect, man, I have only 8 years left. I should own a good amount of my home. I should own a ton of it, in fact. Well, you own a ton, but you barely own, let me go back to 21 years. You barely own half of your home after 21 years. Keep in mind, it's a 30-year loan. Why is that the case? You may think, well, that's not mathing correctly. How is that possible? The reason that that's possible is because a point that I made earlier, where you're paying so much more in interest at the beginning of your loan than the principal. So if you're paying more into the principal, that means that you own more of the home, not the financing of the home. So that's why after 21 years, you barely own more than 50% of your home with the conventional 5%. And even with the conventional 20%, you own 60%. You would think that you're so much closer to the finish line than you are. The reason being is because you paid most of it into the interest than anything else. So you see how much is the principal has been paid in these years. That's why the math works out that way. And then eventually your green surpasses the loan, and then you're done. All right, so let's talk about loan details. The only thing that I want to share here is when your mortgage insurance falls away, if you were to go 5% down on a conventional. Remember, with an FHA, your mortgage insurance never falls off. But here with your conventional 5%, after 10 years and 2 months, your mortgage insurance goes away. Note that mortgage insurance does, note that this is on paper when it goes away, the 10 years and 2 months. But as your home appreciates, it can actually drop off sooner. This doesn't factor in the appreciation that your home would have. So you could find yourself paying off that, getting your mortgage insurance falling off in 9 years, 8 years, 7 years, depending on how fast the home appreciates. Talking about appreciation, we can look at the differences between owning a home and renting a home. This is a direct comparison. So let's just say we buy this home at $1.2 million, which is the home here in Colleyville, which is a beautiful home. What we would do is, let's do this. After 10 years, we can make this assumption. Let's just say we want to sell in 10 years and we want to get a financial model together of what that would mean. Well, if we do a 3% down, if our home appreciates at 3%, what would that be? The cost to sell, let's say it costs us 6% to sell this house. This includes realtor commissions, this includes title work, this includes maybe fixing up a few things here and there. We're going to say that cost to sell this house is 6%. Tax increase per year. We're going to assume that the taxes are going to increase 3% every year. And then we're also going to assume that the insurance increase per year is going to be 3% per year as well. These are reasonable expectations. You can take this to the extreme if you want, depending on what you know or you don't know. Like if you have some insider information of what the home insurance rate is going to do, add it in here. Nothing wrong with that. So after those 10 years, our housing expense for this home, essentially how much it costs us to live in this home, would be about $832,000 if we go down the conventional route. If we go down the FHA route, it would cost us $874,000. If we go down the conventional 20%, it would cost us $661,000. That's our housing cost for those 10 years. We factored in the appreciation, so how much the home went up in value, so that's a positive sign. But we also factored in how much it cost us to sell, so that's a negative sign. This is also going to be a negative sign, the cost of our loan, which is different throughout the three scenarios. Property taxes is also negative. Homeowners insurance is also a negative number. And the HOA is also a negative number because we're paying this given that we lived in this home. So this is the only positive minus all these. And the benefit cost would be it cost us this amount in the 10 years to live in this home of $1.2 million. Now for comparison, if we're renting a property of similar size, similar value, if you're being charged, let's say $7,000 per month with an annual increase of 3% per year, this is how much it would have cost you to rent. Now, if you get a rental payment, like let's just say if there's a home that's available for rent that's much less than this, then go ahead and add it here. But the goal here is for you to equate apples to apples to the best of your ability and finding a home that would be a similar value in the similar area at a that's what you would put in here as the rental payment amount. Folks, this is what it takes to buy a home in Colleyville. We looked at the area and we looked at our 3 C's, the commute, the community, and the cost. We also looked at a property and broke it down in detail of the things to look for whenever you're buying a property of this value and the size in this area. Then also we looked at some details about the property that a lot of folks don't really intend to look at, either because we don't know or because we just overlook it altogether. These are some things to consider. Again, we covered those. And then we also looked at 3 different ways to finance the purchase of this property. We went in conventional 5%, FHA 5%, conventional 20%. That way you got to see what it meant in terms of a pocketbook, what it would do to your pocketbook if you ended up purchasing this property in Colleyville, which is valued at $1.2 million. If you need any type of assistance looking to buy or sell in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, please feel free to reach out to us. We would love to support you in any way that we can. And last thing, if you're finding value in these videos, let me know in the comment section down below. Type in Colleyville. Now that if you're watching this and you're finding value in this video, just type in Colleyville down below. It's going to really help us out with the algorithm. And outside of that, I'll see you on the next one.